Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today's card is light and airy. I have a softly inked group of flowers featuring Spellbinder's Clematis and Chrysanthemum. Although chrysanthemums are an autumn flower, this looks like a summer bouquet to me. All of the flowers have been die cut from Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm going to be working with Distress Oxide inks and blending brushes. If you are interested, links to the products that I've used can be found in the description of this YouTube video or on my blog at bonniecarolee.com. 2 sets of petals are needed for the clematis, and I'm inking them up with worn lipstick. The ink is applied front and back. These are very dimensional flowers and we don't want any white peeking out. I apply slightly more pressure to the center of the petals, and as I work outwards, I lessen that pressure to create a gradient. 4 leaves have been die cut and I'm applying Rustic Wilderness to them. Again, I will be inking both the front and the back. I basically do much the same as I did with the flower petals. At the base of the leaf, I apply a little bit more pressure so that the ink is darker. As I work up towards the tip, I lighten the pressure, creating that gradient. 2 sets of stamens were die cut from black cardstock. Each one is cut in half. This next die cut will become the pistil, and all of those spokes are cut in half as well. This pretty clematis comes together very quickly. I'm going to start by shaping the leaves on the back side of them by making little circular motions with a medium-sized ball tool around the perimeter of the leaf. I just turn it over and press the tip down, and it's done. All of the shaping techniques for the clematis are very simple and easy to do. I love it when a beauty like this comes together with such ease. The shaping of the petals will be done with tweezers. The tweezers are placed at the base of the petal and pinched upwards, and then they're placed at the tip of the petal and pinched downwards. As I'm doing this, sometimes I get mixed up, but these mistakes are ones that are easily corrected. I just go back and reshape it. I use a medium-sized ball tool to depress the centers, causing the petals to cup upwards. To depress the stamens, I switch out to the next smaller ball tool to make them really stand up, and then stack one inside the other. And this is the part that I absolutely love, putting the stamens in the center of the flower, such a dramatic transformation. Okay, now for the pistil. So that die cut has like a little handle on it that you grab with your tweezers, run some glue along the length, roll it up, and then it'll just slip off the tweezers, and don't forget to give those tweezers a wipe. After the pistils are fluffed out, I add a little bit of glue to the bottom and pop it in the middle, and the clematis is done. I made 2 chrysanthemums, one in the dried marigold and the other one was done up in shaded lilac. These flowers are small but mighty. The die set comes with a number of different size layers of petals. Each size is cut 2 to 3 times, so at the end of the day, there are a lot of layers to this flower. I'm inking both the front and the back of the petals like I did for the clematis. The stenciling mat that I'm working on does a pretty good job of holding everything in place as I apply the ink. Because there are so many layers of petals, I just swirl that ink on, trying to leave it a little bit lighter near the tips. The shaping of the flower petals for the chrysanthemum is also done just with the tweezers. It's placed down the center of the petal near the top, and then the two sides are squeezed upwards. One less step than the clematis, which is a good thing because there are so many layers of petals to do. Now to put it together, starting with the largest flower petals, of which there are 3, they are cupped with a medium-sized ball tool. I'm going to build as I go. I simply add one layer onto the other, making sure that I offset the petals with each layer. I'm starting, of course, with my largest petals, and then I work my way up to the tiniest ones. The cupping of each of the layers is fast and easy, and this flower comes together very quickly. For the smallest ones, I actually squeeze the petals together over top of the ball tool to really get them to stand up. When both of the chrysanthemums were already on the card, I decided that I wanted to fill in that center just a little bit more, so I added 2 more layers of the tiniest petals to the center out of ivory cardstock, and then I finished it off with a touch of Nuvo glitter drops. To shape the leaves, I have the back side facing up, and by hand just curve it downwards. On the back side of the leaf, I use a smaller ball tool just to make little circular motions on each of the lobes on the leaf margin. On the right side, I use the ball tool just to depress the base of it. I'm using the pocket out of soft pink and a lacy overlay out of ivory cardstock from Spellbinders, A Pocket Full of Love. And that sunflower didn't make it on this card, there just wasn't enough room. I wasn't going to be tucking anything into the pocket, so I ended up trimming off the tabs and then popped on the lace overlay. There are some detailed die cuts for that large center flower, which I've added on later and kept it tone on tone, everything in ivory. The pocket was adhered to an ivory panel 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches right at the base. The corners of the ivory cardstock panel were trimmed to match those of the pocket. Was then adhered to a black cardstock panel slightly larger for a narrow reveal. And then on it goes to the card base, which is top folding and A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. I begin by creating the flower arrangement, placing the largest flower, which is the clematis, and then tuck in just a couple of the leaves at the top. The chrysanthemums are snugged in tight to the clematis. Each of them is tucked under a flower petal to keep the clematis as the main focal point. I then finish up with the placement of the leaves, trying to create a pleasing composition. I have a simple sentiment for this card from Spellbinders Layered Mix and Match Sentiments. The scripty words come with accompanying shadow dies. I have die cut the Hello shadow die from ivory cardstock and stacked it on a foam die cut. This scripty Hello was die cut from the same soft pink cardstock that was used on the pocket. Bit too much glue, and I tend to use whatever's handy, in this case my hand. Nuvo Glitter Drops White Blizzard was used to accent both the details on the flower and the berries on the pocket overlay. I finish up with a few embellishments of pink confetti that were topped up with Nuvo Crystal Drops Morning Dew. And after adding in the couple of extra layers of petals to the chrysanthemums, this card was complete. I love the soft pastel shades that the ink blending brings to this pretty bouquet, featuring Spellbinders Clematis and their Button and Daisy Chrysanthemum. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I appreciate your visit.